Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to episode 5 of the Elite Wrestling Club podcast, where we explore individuals' dreams and the unwavering persistence to achieve them on and off the mat. Hi, I'm your host, Lance Runyon, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for another inspiring episode. On this episode, we will be going behind the scenes on Kyle Gollhofer, who is a 4-time Georgia State champion and this year's starter for the University of Northern Iowa at 125 pounds. We will share personal stories and valuable insights. We are excited to bring you a fascinating conversation that will inspire and motivate you to chase your dreams and achieve them on and off the mat. So without further ado, let's welcome Kyle Gollhofer and dive into the Elite Wrestling Club podcast world. But before getting into the episode, we would like to give a shout out to our sponsor. CrossFit 327 is a CrossFit gym located in Pleasant Hill, Iowa. CrossFit 327 is not your average gym. Their cutting-edge facility specializes in high-intensity functional fitness designed to help you push your limits and unlock your full potential, just like the champions we discuss on our podcast. At CrossFit 327, you'll find a community of dedicated athletes and coaches who share your passion for wrestling, fitness, and the pursuit of greatness. Whether you're a seasoned wrestler looking to enhance your performance or a fitness enthusiast eager to try something new and challenging, CrossFit 327 has got you covered. Their expert coaches provide personalized guidance and support, helping you develop strength, agility, and endurance that will take your wrestling game to the next level. And with a variety of classes, from beginner to advanced, CrossFit 327 ensures that everyone can benefit from their top-notch training and state-of-the-art equipment. So if you're ready to unleash the elite wrestler within, don't wait another moment. Head over to their website at www.crossfit327.com. Once again, a huge thank you to CrossFit 327 for their support. Love to get into the action on the episode here. So, like I mentioned, we got Kyle Gollhofer. He's from Georgia. Georgia boy.
Yeah.
Got a little coffee brewing this morning.
Had to.
A little French press action.
Every morning.
You think you've mastered that by now or what? Still working on it.
I think it's close, because it depends on what type of coffee we're using too, like the grind size and everything. So I think it's close. It's getting there.
I'd agree. It's gotten better, for sure.
Better equipment too. You know what I'm saying? Like better grinder,
Yeah, I mean,
better press.
That Stanley press definitely keeps her warm for a few hours. Mine's still hot.
That thing's unreal.
So, getting into things, I think you kind of know the layout by now. Just want to know how you kind of got started in the sport of wrestling, like what age, and then what kind of drew you to it.
I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. My mom taught at the middle school that I ended up going to high school. So, like, in that system, she was teaching there. And took me to a wrestling meet one night for the high school. And I was like, man, this looks kind of fun. And then, so I started wrestling from there. Wrestled and played baseball up until probably middle school, until after middle school, and then I focused solely on wrestling. And but it just, I don't know. I went to that dual meet and it looked kind of fun. I mean, these were fighting each other, and I was a mean little kid, so I was like, man, you fight people, but I don't get in trouble, so. It was probably a big draw to it.
It's free fighting.
All right.
Who'd you say your biggest inspiration was?
At first, I probably just, I don't know. At first, I thought it was just fun. I mean, now it's just, and then as growing up, my dad always was like, inspired me and my sister to work hard, and I mean that was something that I enjoyed doing. So I would say he's probably a big factor. Even baseball, my dad was probably a big factor in getting me to work hard and really focus on things and stay disciplined throughout my life. So
Did he wrestle or I can't remember.
I don't know if he wrestled in high school, but I know at Georgia Tech they had like a little club, like a club team, and he wrestled on that. They didn't do like competitions or anything, but they would go in and like train and practice and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Did he wrestle in the military at all?
no, I
They
mean I'm
probably
sure
fight
they
each
did
other
like
for fun there.
yeah, I'm sure they did like martial arts and like hand to hand combat and stuff like that, but I don't think so.
So growing up in Georgia is definitely a little bit different than Iowa, I would say. So
Yeah.
what was it like, growing up down south?
No, it was warmer for sure. Um, it's not like the Georgia to Iowa difference isn't super big. I mean, the lifestyles are probably pretty similar. I mean, it's not like we live in like a big city right now. So, I mean, the lifestyle is it's similar. I mean, everything's kind of low key. Nothing's like super fast paced. I mean, you enjoy your time. So, I mean, I would say culturally wise, it's not a big a big turn. Um, it's a lot colder up here. So
Yeah.
that was
I
probably
remember
maybe.
when you first got up here, you were wearing
Oh my god.
like long johns and double socks and
I was
double
wearing the telling you
sweatshirts
it was
and
30 degrees.
parkas and
Yeah. It was 30 degrees out and I was wearing the parka.
you kind of gotten used to it a little more now
Gotten
though.
used to it a little bit. So
But was it hard to find like a club down there to train or was it pretty easy? Would you say it was kind of really taking off down there when you were growing up?
yeah, I would say the as I was growing up was probably about the time that Georgia wrestling really kind of shot up. Um, I mean, I know Compound started. I started going to Compound when I was 10 or so. It was about an hour and a half depending on traffic, but I mean, I'd go there on weekends. Um, and then we actually had a club called the Wrestling Center with Arturo Holmes, and he coached us. He was probably only about 40 minutes away, so Jackson Smith and I would always go to him back when Jackson was my size. He's a little bigger now,
Yeah,
but
he's a little bigger.
yeah,
He
he's a
stopped
big
cutting
boy.
weight.
Yeah,
I saw his post on Instagram yesterday. It was like when you stop cutting weight, he's like
hey,
whatever,
stop cutting weight and
150
grow a
pounds when he
stash.
got to college, and now he's like 210 pounds, whatever.
But yeah, back
That's
when he
funny.
was my size, we would go and train at Arturo's all the time, and then um, there was actually a group of us that kind of got together, and I mean, we saw each other at tournaments, started hanging out a good bit, and then we started training together. So it was Jackson, Caleb Henson, and Caden McCurry. So us four really kind of trained together, and then we'd go down to Compound on weekends sometimes. So I mean, I've known Roper for 10 plus years. I've known him for a long time. He's been coaching me for forever. But I would say those are the two main clubs that I went to, and they really started. Arturo's has died down a little bit. He's getting old. He's got to be like 200 years old at this point. He's a really good guy. But but
200.
Compound really started taking off then. I would say it was really getting big. So I mean, it wasn't hard. You just had to put in the work. Had to make an
Yeah, I
effort.
mean, find enough kids
Yeah,
to get in there too and want to get better with you.
yeah. I mean, there was
Obviously,
probably pretty good.
football's big down there, obviously too.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
just,
I mean,
I mean,
football and
you talked
baseball.
about you talked about baseball a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you play football at all, like growing up? And
No, I always grew up playing baseball. I mean, my dad would always say, "Ah, you're not big enough to play football." So I was like, "All right, whatever." So
Your
that's
your sister played tennis, right?
yeah. I
So
tried
you
to get
probably
into
dabbled with some tennis here and
I
there.
I did try to get into tennis. My thing was I couldn't get the serve right. Like I couldn't get the serve over the net and into that little square, and it pissed me off. So I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm not doing this anymore. I mean, I would still go out there and hit it with her, but my serve was subpar to say the least.
I don't know if I've ever played tennis, if I'm being honest. I had a few friends that played it in high school, but just for fun.
She had that
Actually, one of them played it in college too.
yeah. She had
It's
that
funny.
lefty spin too, and it always messed me up. But
Yeah, she'd probably
yeah,
beam me. I wouldn't know what to do.
yeah, I would say baseball was fun. Like
Yeah,
looking
I
back
mean, I
on it,
played baseball too. It was,
I kind of missed like the hot summer day playing baseball, and then
oh yeah,
going home, grilling out or something like that with and then I don't know if y'all had the thing up here. It's like you had each week it was a different parent had the snack duty for after the games. Was that a thing?
oh yeah,
Yeah. So I mean that
yeah.
was
We
fun.
had that for we had like cookouts for like
Yeah.
IYFL football. So like after the game, we'd like go out to the parking lot and there'd be like, a circle of people and then there'd be whatever a big table full of whatever they decided to cook that week and it was just
Oh yeah.
I
That's a
can't
little
remember
more.
if that was before or after the games, honestly. It might have been before, but I thought it was after.
That's a little more sophisticated than ours. We just brought a little bag of chips and some Capri Suns, and
Yeah.
and then the cookout was back at one of the houses if we were lucky. So, but
Um so you said you quit in 7th grade for baseball, and that's when you
probably in between. I forget if I ended up playing my eighth grade year or not. I don't know which year exactly that I stopped playing and really focused on wrestling, but it was either seventh or eighth. Yeah.
by focusing on wrestling, was that like free? You started doing some freestyle stuff and wrestling, training more in the summer, and
Yeah. I probably that was probably the biggest difference. I didn't have baseball practice or games to go to, so I could practice over the summer more and um, really kind of dial in. Because I mean, I'm sure you know too. It's like summers are times for big jumps. I mean, whether that's
yeah,
physically, mentally, whatever. But it's when you can kind of really let loose and focus
it's more
on it.
relaxing.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's like I don't got anything to look forward to, right? I don't got any tournaments coming up, but I can go into the room with my buddies. It's nice outside. It's not like when I go
yeah,
outside, it's gonna be cold. I mean, you guys, I guess you had that all pretty much all year round down there, but
yeah,
it's just like, man, after practice, go and hang out. It's summer, I don't have school, like it's just no stress, just focusing on
yeah.
what you love to do, and it's definitely it's definitely nice.
I mean, I feel like there's less. I don't want to say pressure because I mean, even in practice during the season, I don't think I feel like there's a whole ton of pressure, but I think it's like you said, it's a lot more relaxed. I think we can be a little bit more free and try different things, and if something doesn't end up fitting right with you, then all right, whatever. It's not like there's not really a time crunch. So
Yeah, I mean for us that's been a little bit different in college. That's one thing I actually really love, like training in the summer. Like it's just I don't know. One of
I
my
mean,
coaches always said when I was growing up, like at our club, it was like his mantra for like the summer camps. He'd be like, "Summer camps make winter champs."
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know. That's one thing I've definitely missed in college. I haven't really had a full summer to really compete or not even compete, but just train and
yeah.
have some good time on the mat. But
I mean, I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to most. this year because I mean, I freshman year I was post ACL. The next year I was post labrum, and then the year after that I partially retore my ACL again. So I had to kind of let that heal itself a little bit. So I mean, this year's probably getting some camps in. I'm actually excited to do that. It's gonna be my first one, so we'll see how that goes. But training, getting some camps in. I mean, it's exciting to do because I feel like I can focus on me specific things. It's not like practice when you come in and the whole group's doing the same thing. It's like I can focus on exactly what I want to do and get better at and kind of blend some things together.
Yeah, I loved doing camps last year. It was fun. I mean, just being able to kind of highlight some of your favorite moves and be able to walk around and teach them and
Hmm.
help kids. Just kind of show who you are too as a person. I
Yeah.
felt like sometimes I almost put too much pressure on myself going in there, like, oh, I need to make sure like I stick to this routine and teach these three or four things. And sometimes, I mean, I'll ask the coach, be like, hey, anything from the season you guys, need help with, need focused on.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, we got beat up pretty good in this position. I'm like, all right, I'll throw that in. But
Yeah. Like too, it helps you with your wrestling. I mean, you gotta break it down to really know it if you're gonna teach it. So I mean, I feel like it helps you a lot too. So I'm excited for that.
yeah, that'll be cool. Um, so I know you competed a lot growing up too, like traveling and stuff. So what kind of tournaments did you go to?
I mean, all the big ones. Tulsa, Tulsa kickoff. Um, Ohio tournament of champions is probably one of my favorite ones. I don't know if you know what that one is.
I don't know. I've ever been there. I don't think so.
They used to always so it was like it was almost like a freestyle type thing. So it was but it was folk style rules. It was on your feet, you get a takedown, you don't get a turn for 15 or so seconds, they put you back up. But it was folk style with freestyle rules. And I don't know, when I was a kid I never really put a lot of emphasis on top. I mean, I was good on bottom, but I never really put a lot of emphasis on top. So that was kind of I was like, man, I can go and I can cut somebody and not give up a point, you know. So
Yeah,
that was fun. And they used to always give out like these weird trophies and stuff. I think the year that I won it, they gave out like an alien or something like that, and then
hmm,
like saber tooth tigers. And if I had a picture of it, they were cool. It was like
that's cool.
one year was like a penguin, or I mean, there's like sculptures of like these weird trophies and stuff like that. So that was probably one of my favorite ones. Um, Folks Out Nationals, the one up here in the UNI Dome.
Yep.
Always go to that one. It's kind of funny. Everything comes full circle, I guess. But I mean, I always went to that tournament. Um,
The Minions.
the Minions. Yeah, we went out to BAC. We went out to those duels a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but those were probably the big ones that we hit. Um, I didn't really start doing freestyle stuff until high school. So I mean, I went to Fargo a couple of times in high school, but that was probably those. I mean, just kind of the main ones were the ones that we hit. So we kind of had to pick and choose which ones we went to sometimes too, because I mean,
Yeah.
drive 15 or so hours out to Tulsa,
Mm-hmm.
13 hours up here, 10 hours up to Ohio. So we had to kind of had to pick and choose, but we tried to make those were the five that we hit all every year.
So obviously you had a very successful high school career. I mean, you were 201 and three, four state titles.
Yeah.
Um, was that so? After your first state title, was that like, th- was that when you realized, I can win four? Like I have the opportunity to win four? Or was that something you set out to do when you were, you know, young?
it was kind of so my first my first one was actually 3 weeks after I think my one loss my freshman year because we were in the state duels finals and bumped up to 13 because I was a 6 pounder, bumped up to 13 to try and like help our lineup a little bit. Got beat, and I was kind of like in a slump for like the next couple weeks. Like I wasn't wrestling well, um, just kind of flat. Like not really. I don't know. It was weird, and my coach yelled at me, kind of lit a fire under my ass, and I was like, you know what, that loss happened, and it's like 2 weeks ago now, whatever. So after I won my first, um, I remember talking to my coach probably a couple weeks later, and if you want to win 4 titles, I think you're undershooting yourself. He's like if that's all you want to do, I don't I think you're almost like placing a limit on yourself. If that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
you can do more than win four. And I think from that point on, it became, yeah, I wanted to win four, but how dominant and how well could I do it? It's like yeah, I can do this, but how am I going to do it? Am I going to like barely kind of squeak by, or am I gonna really show that this is the real deal? So I think after that point, I was like, and then going beyond that, wanted to wrestle in college and stuff like that too. So I think it's like how well could I do this to like dominate and set myself up for college.
Yeah.
So I think
So,
four was always in like in my sights. Like I always wanted to get four. I think coming
but
into
they
college,
in the back of your head, you were like, "There's bigger things that I want to achieve than just 4 state titles."
yeah, like coming into high school, I was like, I want to win four. Like I want to be a four timer. And before I did it, my school hadn't had one. So in my head, like first day I stepped in the room, I was like, you know what, I'm doing this. And there's probably a couple before me that should have gone for, but you know,
Well,
you know what, I'm gonna do this. So
it's your time, man. So when did those other two losses come? Were those
those were my
same
sophomore
kind of
year.
scenarios?
No, they were my sophomore year. So we went to my sophomore year was the first time there was this tournament in Florida. It was called the Brandon Invitational, and it was, I mean, if you're down south or whatever, it's not big anymore. The Florida Knockout. I don't know if you know what that is, but that one kind of took over. That's probably one of the bigger tournaments in the South. I mean, right now, um, but it was the Brandon Invitational. But that was probably one of the bigger tournaments. So we went down there, and I remember wrestling this kid, and I mean, he had to have been like, I mean, I was a baby at this point. I was still a sophomore, and this kid had to have been like 21 years old. I mean, full mustache, like what I was like, this dude, there's no way. Like this kid's got a kid up in the stands. But I mean, he probably didn't. But in my head, I was like, oh my god, this dude's old. So I think I lost that match 3-2. Um, and then the next weekend, we went up to McCallie, Tennessee for like a McCallie Invitational, and I lost to a kid named Tyler Hunt. I think he might have been a four timer. I'm not sure, but he might have been a four timer. And
Was he
then
from Tennessee?
he's from Georgia. There's a couple Georgia
Oh,
teams that
okay.
went up there, and then he ended up wrestling at the Naval Academy, and we trained together a good bit. But I ended up losing to him, and then after that, I was like, you know what? I don't like this losing crap. It's like I'm done with this. So I think after that, I could probably count on one hand how many points I gave up. It was very little. So I mean that loss to him kind of like the same kind of scenario that my freshman year kind of lit a fire under me, and I was like, "This ain't happen again." So those were the other two.
Those losses were seem seem pretty needed, I guess,
Yeah,
for your high school career at least. It's like,
yeah.
you know,
And next 200
motivating.
tear.
Yeah, I mean, 201-3, didn't undefeated your last two seasons of high school.
And I
So,
mean, it helped too. I think my junior and senior years when like Jackson, Caden, and Caleb, and then one of my best buddy Gavin. Um, that's when we all of us really started training together too. Because my junior years when Caden and was it my junior? It was I think it was my junior years when Caden and Caleb and Jackson all came up. So the five of us really started training together a lot more too, and I think that helped a lot, made each other a lot better.
you mean like to the same high school?
Yeah, because
And because your senior year, you guys won one state, didn't you?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we won duels and then traditionals. So, and
I mean, that's a cool thing too. I mean,
yeah,
I was blessed to be on a pretty successful team in my last 2 years of high school, and it was
yeah,
it was pretty cool being able to, be in the state dual finals and be running for a traditional state title too. So
yeah.
I'm
I
sure
think it
getting you
was
guys all together was pretty cool for your coach.
yeah, it was. And then it was. I think the coolest part was I think my senior year, my finals in the match, me winning that match sealed the traditional title for us. So I think that was pretty cool too.
Them other boys are like, all right, let's see how much we can run this up.
Yeah, yeah, they kind of I mean they did run it up because I mean Caleb won that year. We had a 13 pounder in it, and he lost. But Caleb won it that year. Um, and then Caden and Jackson ended up winning that year too. So I mean it was a fun time for sure. And I mean the title for me by itself was cool, but I mean it's always cool seeing your team and seeing your boys do well too. I mean, especially when you get that momentum running. I mean, it's something cool to see. So,
Yeah, doing both in the same year, pretty special. Had to be.
oh yeah,
So I guess moving into college stuff. So why did you choose UNI?
I came up on an unofficial with my mom in April of my senior year, and I look at her and I was like, "This is the place." Like I just kind of had that feeling. It's like I had competed in tournaments up here before. I mean, and I always felt comfortable here. Like I never really, even when I was like looking back when I was competing up here at the Folk Sound Nationals, I always felt comfortable here. And but so we stayed at a hotel in Ames just because we flew into Des Moines, stayed at a hotel in Ames, came up here for a day or two, and then went back. And I remember on the way back, I was like, "Mom, this is like I feel like this is where we're supposed to be." She's like, "Okay." She's like, "Let's like we'll think about it, but okay." I was like, and I mean, I'm sure in the back of her head, she's like, "Yeah, it's 13 hours away. I don't know if I want my son going that far away."
Yeah,
Uh, And then, so I started talking to Roper and Doug a lot more and scheduled the official, came up on my official, and I mean, that kind of sealed it. I was like, this is like the first time I've been up here without my family or whatever. But I mean, seeing the team, seeing everybody, I was like, this is it. So I still had to take. I think I had to take another official to Army because I mean, I told the coach I would, and I didn't want to go back on my word, so I took that official too. But I was like, after that too, I was like, this there's like, it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah.
I was like,
You talk
this,
about that feeling. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. You're kind of the first person that said that, I guess, on the podcast. It's like a feeling. I guess I kind of like resonate with that a lot
yeah.
more because it's just like it's kind of indescribable too. I mean,
It's like
you just kind of
oh,
know it's in your gut.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. But I mean, I felt real comfortable up here. I mean, I just felt like you said that feeling just in your gut. It's like you just know. And I think I called Doug the next day when I got home from Army. I called Doug. He didn't answer. And then
classic,
yeah,
classic Doug.
really. And then I called Roper, told Roper, and then I think Doug called me back like an hour or so later. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" so, so I did the classic, "Hey, bud, what's up? What's up?" So then I told him, and then I mean, I told him I had before I went to Army. I was like, "Look, I'm leaning real heavy towards you and I, but I got to take this." I told the guy I would. I got to take this. So
Yeah, I mean,
so I did that, and so I think they kind of already knew. Like I don't think they were super worried that I wasn't going to come here or whatever. But so I ended up. I think I got home, thought about it that night, and then called Doug the next day. So, but I just kind of knew. I mean, the family, it's it's a little different up here than I've seen other places. It's like we're real tight. We're like you can really tell that everybody cares about how we do off
yeah, I
the
mean, it's like what Allison posted, I think
yeah,
yesterday
yeah.
or 2 days ago.
The first thing you look
I mean,
for. So
it's
it's
like a
like
second family. It's not just, uh,
yeah,
I feel like maybe I could go to coach's house if I needed to talk about something, but like you could
yeah.
literally just go over and hang out. Like,
I mean, I talked a couple years ago when after my labrum surgery because that was probably the one that mentally hit me the hardest. Um, I mean, I talked to her, I talked to Allison and Doug for probably 2 or 3 hours at their house. It's like that's a good thing to be able to do. It's like your coach
yeah,
and
for
really
sure.
understands how you're feeling. It's like so he knows. It's like okay, they can help. It's like especially my parents are 13 and a half hours away. I mean, I can call them, but it's having someone here like a coach or even y'all. It's like having someone here that I can talk to and like physically be with is super helpful. I think so.
And yeah, I mean, Doug's a great coach, obviously. And I think the one thing that makes him such a great coach is he knows that it's bigger than wrestling,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, for
And
sure.
obviously he values the wrestling part and he wants us to succeed and meet our goals and
Yeah.
but he also wants us to thrive off the mat too. He wants us to be better men and make sure we're doing okay, mentally off the mat too and thriving in our social life and school and our job, whatever it is.
hmm
So,
I think that one thing that really stands out about Doug to me is like you don't like he calls people that had graduated 10 years ago and like checks up on them. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know that I see that very often other places. I mean, I don't know because I haven't been other places, but that's one thing that really stands out to me is like, okay, this guy graduated 10 years ago. Doug's still checking on him. So, I mean, you can tell he really cares how we end up in life. It's like, yeah, he wants to
yep.
win. He wants us to win. But like you said, he knows it's bigger. He knows it's about life too. So,
Yep. Do you want to talk about your transition a little bit from Georgia to Iowa, that initial getting up here, I mean, I'm sure it was tough, but there's a lot of guys that do it, especially on the team. Obviously, you know, we became friends pretty early, and I think that probably helped. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it's just I know it's tough, and I know some guys have struggled with it. So if you want to talk about it, and just so any kids listening to this that are maybe thinking about, oh, I'm going 10 hours away, I'm going 13 hours, I'm going across the country.
Yeah.
They don't hold themselves back by something they really want to do just because of that distance.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I talked about this with Parker the other day. It's like I've always been kind of independent. Like I've been able to do things on my own and kind of do what I need to do by myself. And like sometimes I do prefer, like when I go lift, I prefer lifting alone just because I don't know, it's something that I've always been like that. I've always been kind of independent, do my own thing kind of thing. But I think especially 13 hours away, I mean, it was tough. I mean, I missed my family. I missed going home. Like I missed having that. Like when my parents come up here, when I go home, it's almost like that security blanket. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know if it's yeah. I mean, I don't know if you feel that or not, but I mean, when they come up, it's like, all right, mom's taking care of this for me. She's taking care of that. Like dad's taking care of this. Whatever. It's like a security blanket. But I think if you're first thing, I mean, you need to make sure it's like you love the place that you're going to. Like if you really love it, like if you're going 13 hours away, you gotta love it. I mean, that's anything you do though. If you don't love it, there's no point in doing it, right? So I think you gotta love it. You gotta find people that you can talk to when you need to. I mean, especially if you're not independent, you gotta find people that you can hang out with and be with, and you can kind of confide in each other, I guess, and use that. But I mean, it does get easier. It's like you learn to I think that's something that's really helped me. It's like you learn to kind of do things on your own. You learn to live on your own. And I mean, it's uncomfortable at first, but it's kind of the story of our lives. We're uncomfortable a lot.
Yep.
So,
And I
but
don't want to put words in your mouth, but just like you talked about, like the reason why you came up here, like Doug being such an influence, it's like
yeah,
you knew you had that second family up here already, and you already
yeah.
felt that love and that care that you probably wouldn't feel anywhere else. So,
hmm I mean, that definitely helped. It's like if I didn't feel that, well, I don't think I'd be up here if I didn't feel that. Like if I didn't have
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So, I mean, that helped a lot. I mean, getting
yeah,
close with y'all, obviously. I mean, me, you, and Parker got, and then Caleb and Zach, we all got pretty close pretty fast. So,
yeah. Definitely helps.
yeah,
So, 13-2, redshirt freshman year, before an injury, obviously. I'll kind of just highlight some things. Able to come back for 8 matches the next season, and obviously some adversity along the way.
yeah,
You already talked about ACL, then labrum surgery, and then more knee issues. So I don't know if you just want to talk about being able to just I don't know trust in the process. I guess is pretty much what it is because it is a process. It's
yeah,
grueling. It can be depressing,
yeah. I mean,
and
and
I think I think
you
me and
know,
you definitely relate on this level. So
yeah.
it's something I
Um,
want to highlight in this conversation for sure.
I almost after my first ACL, and then COVID hit. Like, dude, I don't know. I mean, I really had a long talk with myself. It's like, do I want to wrestle again? It's like, it's like my knee hurts. Like I can't even do a squat right now. Like how am I gonna wrestle? It's like I'm having to do all this rehab. I can't run. I can't
Yep.
do a squat. I can't do a deadlift. I can't do a power clean. It's like whatever. But I mean, I think talking with Doug too, because I called Doug. I was like, Doug, I'm struggling right now. It's like I don't know what to do. And it's like he told me to think about it a little bit, and then he goes, "You committed already." He's like, "You committed yourself." And he was like, "I know it's hard right now because I think Doug had shoulder surgery or something like that. I don't know."
Yep.
But he's like, "I know it's hard, but it's like, you committed yourself already." And he's like, "I know you." He's like, "I know you're not gonna." It's like you're gonna do what it takes. So that kind of got me off the edge, so to speak, there. And then, I mean, the COVID year, and then I went to go home. I was probably home for a month, kind of getting away, and it's good to get home, get away, kind of clear your mind, refresh a little bit, and then coming back. And then the COVID year competition was kind of weird. It's like we had all those duels, and I think that
Yeah,
just
we started in January. I
yeah,
mean,
it was kind of weird. Um,
but yeah, we had those extra matches, so you still had,
yeah,
8 matches that season.
yeah, and I think that was good for me too because I kind of got to come back and get my feet back underneath me a little bit. It's like I had never been hurt or taken more than like 2 weeks off the mat since
Yeah.
before then. And so I think it was good to get my feet back under me for not wrestling for 9 months. It's like so that helped, and
It's
then
definitely one of the hardest parts too. It's like, man, I haven't wrestled. I
yeah,
haven't been able to train. I
right,
haven't been able to do all these things, and it's like, and now I'm supposed to go out here 9 months later
yeah, hmm
and perform. Well, I mean, you don't have to perform better, I guess, but in your head, you're like, I want to perform better than I did the year before
yeah,
because
because
that's what everybody
everybody
else is
else has
doing.
been training. Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody else has been training and getting better, so it's like, all right, I gotta. And I mean, there's more ways to get better too. I think that's the biggest thing I learned from that is, I
yep,
can watch film, I can visualize stuff, and it's like it's not physical, so it doesn't feel like you're doing it and getting better, but I mean, you are. So,
yeah. And I remember that match, man. I was already hurt. I already hurt my knee, so I remember I was just coaching or whatever.
hmm
And just after that happened, all I could think in my head is just like, oh, it's gonna be all right. I remember like messing with you a little bit, like I was just trying to be optimistic about the situation. I'm like,
when we
bro,
were
like you're
studying for
good.
finals.
You're good. Stop limping. Like it's okay. I know it hurts right now, but it'll feel better tomorrow. Like I promise. Like it. All of a sudden, torn ACL. I'm like, oh man.
I remember sitting in that little room in Rialto. We were studying for finals, and I was like, dude, I'm worried because I was getting my results the next day. I was like, dude, I'm worried. Like, what's gonna happen? And you're like, you're probably fine. It's probably just a little tweak. And then I go to the doctor the next day. Oh yeah, you need surgery. It's like, but
I'm just trying to make you not think about the negative things. I mean, in the back of my head, I mean, obviously, you're tough as crap. So it's like, I don't know if he's struggling a little bit. It
yeah,
probably hurts pretty bad, but
but
um,
those 8 matches were good, and then labrum surgery.
yeah,
That one,
labrum surgery again.
yeah,
Another surgery, different thing, but still pretty grueling time off, grueling rehab, gets long. Plus, it's
it
your
does.
second one. It's like,
Yeah. I'm sure you can relate to the labrum too. It's like It's like at least with my ACL, like I could do like squat or I could do bench, I could do curls, I could sit down and do things. But with your labrum, it's like you can't do anything. It's like you can't put a bar on your back. You can't like you can do
Well,
like
yeah, and it's like
lunges and stuff, but it's not like it's you
for a
can't.
while,
Yeah,
well, oh, you shouldn't run because, oh, we don't want the jarring on your shoulder. You're like, oh, okay. Like, so now I can't run. Oh, okay. Can I bike? Well, I mean, you can bike, but it's got to be light because, again, if you
hmm
push it a
yeah,
little too hard, you're going to get off and it's going to be sore and hurting
yeah,
you. Okay, so don't bike. And then you're like, all right, well, at least I can do some lunges or squats or something. And they're like, same
yeah.
thing, like the jarring. And it's like,
Like
whatever.
what can I do? So,
Yeah. For a
but
while, it's like I can't do anything.
yeah, especially in a sling, it's hard. It's like at least when I
Yeah.
had my brace on for my ACL, I could lay down on a bench or I could sit down on a bench and do like curls or something. But it's like with my sling on, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't do anything. It's like, but I think that one was probably the hardest mentally because at that point I was really like, my body is not doing what I want it to do, and I had never like really had those problems. And I'm sure you can kind of relate to that. It's like you want to do something so bad, but your body is like not keeping up with you. It's not letting you. It's like it feels like it's betraying you almost.
Especially when you've gotten back. You've already
Yeah.
gotten back from one injury. You
hmm
feel like everything's going well. Bang.
Yeah.
Something else.
Round two. So
Now I gotta do this all over again.
yeah.
So I guess you want to talk about, working back into wrestling again. You had well, I want to say you had a summer to train, but obviously you were still having some knee complications the
Yeah.
next summer. But, you were able to crack into the lineup a little bit and then, this year able to get your full first season as a starter. So,
Yeah. Um, I'll kind of start with so the year after that, I did have some knee issues, but I got to train a little bit, so I was happy with that. And at least this time, I was like, it's not. I could still do things. Like I got on the bike, did a lot of low impact stuff. Like I got on the bike, I ran on the underwater treadmill we have. I swam a lot. Just doing things that I could. It's like low impact, doesn't bang up my joints at all. Um, so that definitely helped that I could still do things. Um, really started taking did some more rehab, took that a little bit more seriously through that. And then, got into the lineup a little bit the year before that. And then I mean didn't compete super well, but it's something that I talked with Doug about. It's like in high school we didn't do a lot of duels. So weighing in and wrestling one time was kind of getting up for one match was kind of a weird thing to me. It's like something I had to get used to, get better at. I mean, we had duels, but there was like we would weigh in and then we would have 3 or 4 duels in one day. It wasn't like you weigh in at night, you have one duel, you're done. It's like we didn't do that very often, so um, that was something to get used to, and I was kind of. I think that's why the extra matches were a little better for me is because you weighed in and then you had like 2 or 3 matches that day. If
yeah.
granted, if people brought more than one person, so you got 2 or 3 matches that day, maybe. So that was a little more what I was used to. So getting used to the duels was it's kind of interesting. So I think that year was good for me, especially coming into this year. Um, and then coming into this year, I think I was like, this is my first year as a starter. I think I almost like I made it bigger than it was. That makes sense. It's like I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. Like when like really, I don't have to. It's like I don't have to do this. This is what I love to do. So I think I put a little bit more of I have to do this instead of this is an opportunity. This I get to do this. This is what I love to do. And it's like this is what I've been wanting to do since I've been up here. So I think
Yeah.
just kind of be like, okay, this is what I want to do. So why not
And
have
that
fun?
can be a pretty crappy situation in your head too, because you're
Yeah,
like, man, I've been wanting to do this, and now I'm not even doing it to
yeah,
the capability that I know I should be able to.
yeah. And
So then you're
especially
almost thinking about that in a negative sense where it's like, why am I doing this when I should be doing this?
yeah. And then it kind of snowballs from that point if you let it. It's like
100%. Yeah.
especially the duels in New Orleans. I think was the turning point because I was wrestling and it's like I did not wrestle well at all. It's like especially those. It was kind of the same story in Vegas. It's like I didn't wrestle very well the first period. Wrestled a little bit better the second period, and then the third period, I was like, okay, I'm kind of in this match. Like I don't know why I waited till the third period to have that. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
I can do this. It's like I don't know. And then so I think the duels in New Orleans were the turning point because I mean I went home and I talked to my dad a good bit, and my dad's always been, you know, work hard, work harder, work harder. You got to do this harder. You got to train harder, whatever. And then he looked at me and he's like, dude, you got to have more fun, man. And he was like, you can just like kind of see it. He's like, you look tense. You look like he's like, you don't look like you're having fun. And I was like, it almost took me aback a little bit. I was like, this dude has been work hard, work hard, work hard for 22 years. And then now he's saying, have fun. And I was like, I must really be doing something wrong. It's like, if this guy is telling me to have fun, then it's like I really got some things to think about. So I kind of took that time, thought about some things, and then that's where I came up with it's like I've been wanting to lead off for my team, lead off for y'all for 3 years now. It's like and I get the opportunity, and then I'm not having fun with it. It's like so I think getting back to having fun and then getting into dual season. Dual season's definitely different. It's fun too. So having some home duels, going to some away duels, and that was probably the big turning point this year mentally. I'd say for me because I was like you said, I was letting it snowball. I was letting it kind of compound, and so
Yeah. And it happens. It definitely happened to me this year too. I
yeah,
mean, but, you got better every match throughout the season. You
yeah.
could see it. I mean, the development, and I think everybody's excited for next year. So, um, let's see. I heard a little story about your youth. Something about you dressing up as a Disney princess.
Okay. Okay. So
So, I mean, if you want to, you know, explain yourself, testify, whatever you want to
okay,
call it.
that that happened. But
I'll throw up I'll throw up a little picture
okay.
of old Kyle
All
as a Disney princess here.
right, all right, sis. If that was you, we're gonna have problems when I come home in a couple weeks.
Oh, it was.
Oh, there it is. There's the culprit right there. She So the story behind this, okay. I'm like 4, maybe, in that picture. So first of all, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really even remember that fully. I mean, I'm 4 years old. So the one thing I do remember is that she told me she would give me $50 if I dressed like
Oh,
she bribed me, dude. And
Wow.
I was 4 years old. $50 to me then was like a million, you know?
I know. That's what I'm
So
saying. I'd have done it too.
I she still owes me
Shoot,
50
I'd do it.
bucks.
I'd do it tomorrow for $50.
Right? $50 is $50, man. If all I gotta do is put on a princess costume, then I'm four on top of it. I'm easily convinced at this point. I'm thinking, man, $50.
50
Think of the
bucks. Come on.
think of all the what were those things? The Hot Wheels cars I can get with like $50. You know, it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
so I wanted that $50. I still haven't gotten that $50. So we're gonna have to get that at some point.
definitely. And then I heard another story about a time that you and Jackson Smith, somebody you were mentioning about earlier, were shooting an older kid with airsoft guns.
Oh god, we probably get in trouble for that now. But
Oh, yeah.
we used to have these airsoft guns, so they shoot like these little plastic pellets. And I mean, we would go to war. Like we would have straight up wars with those things around the neighborhood. And I mean, we would get the cops called on us now for sure. But we would go to war. And this one kid lived in his neighborhood. I mean, we weren't like obviously we weren't big as kids. Like I'm still not big. He grew up a little bit, but I did. But I mean, we weren't. I mean, this big kid. I mean, he was bullying. He was a bully. Came over, tried to bully us, and we were like, all right, you know what? That's enough. I forget this kid's name. I'll have to ask him, but I forget this kid's name. And he was trying to bully us, and we were like, you know what? That ain't happening. And we teamed up on this kid, and we lit him up. Like we probably shot him 50 times with these airsoft guns, and I mean, he deserved it. I think. I mean, looking back, I think he deserved it. I mean, he may or may not have, but we weren't putting up with it. So I mean, we lit him up, and he went inside crying to his mom.
Classic bully.
Oh yeah. And then his mom came up like an hour and a half later, knocked on their door, and he was still sniffling. He was still sniffling. So I mean, this kid put on a show, man. He was sniffling, crying, and then his mom was like, "Your kids are bullying my son." And he turned around. He was like, "Those two kids that are about half the size of your kid put together." He's like, "They're bullying him." So, but yeah, it was fun. Yeah, we had some good times with those things. There's a picture floating around with us with
Oh, I'm
airsoft.
sure. I'm sure. Um, so do you want to talk a little bit about your interests after your wrestling career is over? You know, your majors right now.
Yeah, so I'm a Bachelor of Arts in biology, a Bachelor of Science in biochemistry. So I want to go to med school. Well, that's the plan right now, anyways. I want to go to med school. Probably somewhere back closer to home. Um, obviously, I'm going to apply to pretty much anywhere. So I mean, anywhere I can get in, I'm probably going to go. So,
Yep.
um, but I mean, I'm hoping for something back closer to home. Get a little southern sun back in me. So,
There you
but
go.
med
Little
school is
little
fun.
Doctor Goldhofer.
Yeah, you need me.
All right.
Orthopedic surgery actually too. So, if
Gonna
it
finish
goes
up with
well,
some rapid fire
cool.
questions here.
All right.
All right. Favorite place to eat in Cedar Falls?
You know, I went to Urban Pie last week. I'm gonna have to say Urban Pie is pretty good. It's on my list right now.
All right. Favorite sports team?
Atlanta Braves.
Braves. Favorite movie?
Lone Survivor.
Marvel or Star Wars?
Ooh. I'm gonna have to go with Star Wars right now, just because that Mandalorian series was the last season was good, man. It was real
All
good.
right. Favorite athlete?
Favorite athlete? Oh, Peyton Manning.
Favorite home cooked meal?
My grandma's. It's called egg stuff. Either my mom's or my grandma's egg stuff. It's like a breakfast food.
All right. Well, appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Go check this out on any streaming platform really anymore. We got it up just about everywhere. So check out our EWC website, and just want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in.
Thanks for having me.